Hi, everybody. This is Katie Wilson coming to you from my room in sunny San Diego, California. I'm here to pitch my real life story, and I decided to use as a source a life story that I'm very familiar with, and that is the story of a student of mine named Ronan Nelson. The article that I'm using as my primary source is from our school newspaper, and it's entitled Ronan Nelson Not Defined by Wheelchair. The article was published almost exactly 2 years ago. 3 years ago, Ronan was in an accident during a rugby game at our school. Two other players landed on top of Ronan, and he suffered an injury to his spinal cord that left him in a wheelchair, left him a quadriplegic. And his story is just rife of dramatic content, inspirational content. I think would make an excellent film. And I'm a little biased, I'm sure, but I think it absolutely fulfills the 7 indicators that Linda Seeger outlines in her book. First of all, we start with a sympathetic character. This child, who I am so blessed to know, really did not allow his injury and subsequent rehabilitation to interfere with anything that he had planned in his life. He's just an absolutely remarkable person. He came back to school, continued on as the captain of the football and rugby teams, despite the fact that he couldn't play, and then eventually agreed to star in one of the starring roles in the school musical that I directed his senior year. He's a remarkable story. So we have the most sympathetic main character of all time. The central incident of his accident, which took place in front of about 1,000 people, certainly is dramatic, and the aftermath of his injury, those minutes and hours when he couldn't breathe and couldn't move at all, and everything his parents had to endure, certainly it makes for a good story. I can't believe I'm saying that. The story does build to a climax. Obviously, Ronan wanted to come back to school, graduate, walk across the stage at his graduation, and eventually begin to walk. And I don't want to give everything away yet, but he's really on his way to make a remarkable recovery. He's still in his wheelchair, but he has walked with the assistance of a robot. It's pretty miraculous. Anyhow, the story being over a short period of time. I mean, a short period of time, well, that's relative. Maybe his senior year. I consider that being short enough, certainly to take place in a 90-minute, 2-hour movie. Strong ongoing relationships. You could follow relationships between he and his parents, maybe his teachers, maybe a select teacher. He was certainly a personal inspiration to me. A story that can be told visually. I think one of the more powerful visuals, perhaps for those first days back on campus, here he is trying to negotiate 2-story buildings, the first person to ever ride several of our elevators, cobblestone paths that made for the ride in his chair to be very uncomfortable for him, having to change a catheter multiple times a day, or have it changed, have friends help him with that process. Some of those visuals are jarring, to be sure, but I think it could be very powerful. And then the rising dramatic line, certainly from accident to ultimate triumph. It's a remarkable story. How would I make this a film? Well, I mean, maybe it seems trite and seems like your standard movie of the week or your ABC after school special, but those stories have stayed with me my whole life. I remember those stories, and ice castles and Hoosiers, and those stories will always be ones that need to be told, that people want to hear. Everybody wants to leave a movie theater inspired, I think. I think that's an ideal time at the movies. So I would just tell his story. The last line of the article is really telling. Ronan says, I'm in the chair. I'm not defined by the chair. It's not who I am. And I really want to paint that picture, that his sense of humor is as intact as ever, and his faith has been unwavering. On a personal note, we were out at a baseball game together. I took him to a baseball game. The end of his senior year, we were there together, and he knew that I was in the middle of the adoption process, trying to be matched with a child, and things were not looking great for me. And he said, "How's that going?" And I said, "Oh, Ronan, I'm just keeping the faith. I just know God has a plan, and it's bigger than mine, and I just have to trust in that." And he said, "God has a plan for you, Miss Wilson. It's going to happen. You're going to be a great mom." Little did we know that my son was born that day. Probably not too long before he and I were having that conversation, and I would be getting the call that he would be mine 2 days later. So it's kind of remarkable. We're tied like that. He was somebody who was always willing to try to inspire everyone around him and lift them up. And I think his story deserves a movie. So that's one I would want to make, the Ronan Nelson story. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.